Ever think about how managing a team and like raising a kid could be kind of similar?
Okay, I gotta admit that's not the first comparison that comes to mind.
Right. Sounds kind of out there, but this guy, Dr. Jareau Almeyda, that's his whole thing with he calls it intensive management.
Intensive management, huh?
Yeah. So we're diving into his LinkedIn article. There's also a profile on him.
Gotcha.
And his background is wild. 9/11 survivor, has a PhD, wrote a whole book about leadership. Now he's a big shot exec at, you guessed it, Kitty the Fire Safety Company.
Wow, talk about a resume.
Yeah.
You can see how going through something like 9/11 would really make someone rethink how we support each other,
Totally.
But intensive management. I don't know, it kind of makes me think of those helicopter parents at the playground, but in the office.
Totally. Like, are we going to be bringing our like kindergarten art projects to performance reviews now?
Huh. Not exactly. It's more, how do I put it? Dr. Almeida is being a little more subtle than that. His point is that a lot of what makes intensive parenting work, dedication, really focusing on your kid, that constant support,
Yeah.
he's saying we can tweak that to build stronger teams at work,
Yeah.
teams that get stuff done.
Okay, so how's this work in practice then? What are the like key things he says we should do?
So one of the biggies is time and attention, and before you picture a boss breathing down everyone's neck all day.
Right.
What's more about those regular check-ins, the one-on-ones, being present, showing you're plugged into what your team's doing, but not like micromanaging every keystroke.
So less about dictating each step and more just being present, being involved in a way that's, supportive.
Exactly that. And get this, his own background kind of feeds into all this. Dr. Almeida was super into dance, even built a whole dance video site way before YouTube even existed.
Wow, serious.
Yeah, traveled the world, built this whole community around it, even met his wife through dancing.
Wow, so this idea of community, of people connecting, that's huge for him. In his life, Engdi, his work.
Absolutely. And that leads right into another principle he's got, educational involvement.
Yeah.
Think about how parents, they're always looking for the educational angle in whatever their kids are up to.
Makes sense.
Almeida says managers should be kind of like that too. It's about coaching, being a mentor, giving your team chances to learn stuff beyond just their day-to-day tasks.
So it's not enough to just get things ticked off the list. You want your team learning new skills, building their, their career capital for the long haul.
Nailed it. And then he takes it even further with this idea of structured activities. And relax, I don't mean mandatory trust falls.
Okay, good, because I was a little worried there for a sec.
Think more like diverse projects, chances to stretch and grow. He even does this company-wide mini State of the Union thing.
I actually really like that idea, giving everyone a view of the bigger picture, right? How their work actually plays into like the whole company's goals.
Exactly. And it lets employees know their voice matters, which is huge in his emotional support principle.
Yeah.
He's big on creating that safe space where people can speak freely. You celebrate the wins, but you also handle those disagreements in a way that's constructive, kind of like, well, hopefully, like a good parent would. Right.
It's about making that environment where people feel supported so they're not afraid to, take risks, be themselves. But doesn't that mean both sides really got to trust each other? Like, how does he say you actually build that kind of trust on a team?
Right. It's not like you just flip a switch and boom, instant trust. You got to earn that.
For sure.
Almeida's big on this two-pronged thing.
Yeah.
So first off, leaders got to walk the walk, right? If you're the boss and you're open, easy to talk to, you actually care about your team, well, that kind of stuff spreads.
It sets the tone.
Exactly. And then the second part, it's about, how do I put it? Creating those moments where people can be a little vulnerable, share experiences together, build those bonds. Remember how into dance he was? That's all about working together, putting yourself out there, trusting your partner, literally. He brings that same energy to how he leads.
So it's like, you can't just like copy the rules from parenting and expect it to work perfectly at the office. You got to find a way to make it your own, make it authentic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you got to be real, right? This whole style, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are some potential downsides, like...
Oh, for sure.
Are we maybe mixing work life and personal life too much?
Let's take a quick break. Want to equip your child with the skills of top global consultants? Don't let them fall behind. Raising Tomorrow's Leaders, The Consultant's Mindset by Dr. Jareau Almeyda is your guide to fostering essential skills in your children for their lifelong success. Available now on Amazon. Okay, welcome back.
Could all this intensive stuff start to feel, I don't know, intrusive or just too much for some people.
It's that line managers always have to walk, right? Being supportive, but not crossing over into, like, someone's personal space.
Bingo. Communication is huge EE here. Got to be clear about what you expect, actually listen to feedback, and be cool about different people needing different things, you know. He even says straight up, not everyone's going to dig this style, and that's fine. It's all about finding the right fit.
It's like that thing, are you a coach or are you a cheerleader? You're there to guide, support, challenge your team, yeah, but ultimately they got to own their stuff, make their own calls.
100%. And this is where it gets tricky, that word, autonomy. So with intensive management, you're all about support, being involved, but it's not about micromanaging or like keeping people on a leash.
Yeah, right, right. So how do you actually do that? How do you give that much support without, like, accidentally holding someone back?
He talks about slowly giving people more and more responsibility. Give them room to try stuff, even mess up a little. It's like, learning to ride a bike, right?
Okay, I'm with you.
At first, you need those training wheels, don't holding you steady. But eventually, you got to ride solo to actually get good.
Man, that's such a good way to put it. It's not about doing the work for your team. It's about giving them the tools, the confidence, so they can do it.
Nailed it. And Dr. Almeyda is a big believer in transparency, too, like when decisions are being made. Let people in on the conversation, explain the why behind a choice, you know?
Instead of just, do this because I said so.
Right. That just breeds resentment. Instead, you're fostering ownership. People feel more empowered to act independently down the line because they're in the loop.
It's that saying, right? Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for life. But we're not talking about fish here. We're talking about those must-have work skills, problem solving, thinking for yourself.
Exactly. Which brings us to why he's so gung-ho about mentorship programs. He's all about pairing up those seasoned pros with the newbies, creating that support network built right into the team.
Makes total sense. Both people win, right?
Right.
The new person gets guidance, the mentor gets to work on their leadership chops. Win-win.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop there. Dr. Almeyda is also really into this thing. He calls them skip-level meetings. Does that sound familiar?
I think I've heard of it, but remind me.
So say you've got someone higher up, like a director or a VP. They have a meeting with employees who are like 2, maybe even 3 levels below them, no direct manager involved.
So, like, going around your boss to talk to their boss's boss, what's the point of that? Just to get the inside scoop?
It's about breaking down those walls a little, those higher-ups. They get to hear straight from the people on the ground, the ones actually doing the work.
Get a feel for what's really going on, not just the sugar-coated version.
Yep. They can spot those problems brewing early on, you know. And for the employees, it shows that what they think actually matters.
Right. You're not just some cog in the machine. Someone's actually listening.
Exactly. And this ties back to those weekly huddles we talked about before. Almeyda says, use those huddles to let your team speak up. Any roadblocks they're hitting, get ahead of those problems together.
Creating that vibe where everyone's comfy, speaking their mind, sharing those ideas no matter what. Though, gotta be real, some people, they don't want that. They want their boss to just tell them what to do, keep things moving.
Totally.
Yeah.
Not every personality is going to thrive in that kind of free-flowing environment. That's why Almeyda says, look, managers got to be real with themselves too, you know. Know your own style, what you're good at, what you suck at.
Right.
And adjust how you manage based on that.
It's about what actually works for you and your team. It's got to be genuine to how you lead.
And being open to hearing what's working, what's not, how to improve things. He's all about constantly getting better, not just the team, but the manager too.
Always leveling up. Okay, so we've talked a lot about how you do this whole intensive management thing.
Right.
But what about the why? Like, besides just having happier employees, what's the payoff? At the end of the day, companies care about results, right?
$1 million question. And honestly, there isn't a ton of hard data specifically on intensive management, at least not yet. But we can look at what happens with other styles that put employee well-being first, how those teams perform.
And what have we seen there? Like, does it actually make a difference?
Well, there's research that shows when companies really focus on employee well-being, you tend to see more people engaged, higher productivity, even more creativity and innovation.
It's like everyone's happier, so they work better. Good for them, good for the company.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
Yeah.
And that's where I think this whole maybe unusual comparison that Almeyda's making, it kind of clicks.
Yeah.
You know, it's about remembering that employees, they're not just robots at a desk, they're people.
With their own lives, their own stuff going on, their own, like you said, quirks.
Right. Everyone's got them. And we all crave that connection, feeling like our work means something, belonging somewhere.
Which, let's be real, can be tough to find in a lot of jobs these days, especially with so many people remote, feeling kind of isolated from their team. Maybe this intensive approach, if you do it right, maybe that's part of the answer.
It really makes you think, right? Because it goes against that old school way of seeing work, like you do your job, you get your paycheck, end of story. Dr. Almeyda is talking about something way deeper, almost like mentorship, or even a kind of partnership between bosses and employees.
Which brings us right back to that question he asks. Are we so focused on getting things done, hitting those numbers, that we've forgotten about the human side of things?
It's easy to get lost in the weeds, right? Deadlines, projects, spreadsheets. We got to remind ourselves there are actual people behind all that.
Absolutely. And I think that's why what he says we should do about it is so powerful. He's not just like theorizing here. He's saying, managers, try this stuff, experiment, see what works for your team.
Yeah. And he gives you those concrete tools, right? Those weekly check-ins, those skip-level meetings, building those mentorship programs.
It's about figuring out what fits your team's culture, the company you're in.
What works for a tiny startup is going to be different than, like, some huge corporation, for sure.
100%. And that's what I like about this whole conversation. We're not saying, go be intensive managers right this second. It's more like, take a step back. Look at how you're doing things. Be open to trying something new.
Exactly. Be open to feedback. What's working? What's not?
Yeah.
How can we make things better? That's what it's all about.
So, to everyone listening, no matter where you are in your career, think about your own workplace. What parts of this intensive management thing do those resonate with you?
Even if you're not a manager, maybe there are things you can try, even small stuff, to help build a better environment for yourself and the people around you.
Because at the end of the day, don't we all deserve a workplace where we feel valued, supported, where we can actually do our best work? Maybe that's what a little intensive care can help create.
Food for thought.